Hello students, today we'll be talking about the Barely Alive handout. So I know a lot of you are finishing this tonight for homework. The first part we did in class, it talks about gummy bears. Remember we had those different solutions of gummy bears. So here's solution A, here's D. First question, which solution has the most sugar? So A or D. If you notice D, it's really thick. Okay. A is really liquidy. Second question, what caused the gummy bears to change size? So notice that this gummy bear is much, much bigger than this one. So what caused this gummy bear to get bigger? That's what you need to do for the front side, those two questions. Okay. The back asks you about saturated solutions. So remember that a saturated solution is when no more solid will dissolve. So you're adding salt to water and you add it and stir and stir. And finally, no more will dissolve. It's just sitting on the bottom, those little crystals sitting there. That's what we call saturated. So in the lab, you made two saturated solutions. You made a saturated solution of sugar and a saturated solution of salt. And there was some data that you recorded. Okay, so I just made this data up off the top of my head. You should have your own data and you should use your own data for this part. I don't want to see any handouts with these numbers on them because I know these are fake because I just made them up. All right, so once you have these columns, you're ready to fill in the final four. The fifth one here, mass of solid added. Okay, so this is, if we're talking about sugar, how much sugar you put in the cup in grams. So the way you're going to figure it out is with these two columns. So this is just the water in the cup. This is the water, the cup, and the sugar. So I'll draw a little picture to help us out. Okay, the water in the cup, the water, the cup, and the sugar. So the way to find just how much sugar is to do what mathematical operation? To subtract. So you subtract 194.3 and 110.7. Oops. I need a sec to do that in my head. I think it's 93.6. Nope, 83.6. Okay, if that's wrong, we're just going to use that answer from now on out. So 83.6 grams, that's how much sugar I put in. Next, asks you mass of dissolved solid per milliliter of solution. Per is a key word. Per stands for one mathematical operation, which is division. So notice the units are grams over milliliters. So take the mass of the solid divided by the volume of the solution. Okay? So 83. Okay. So that's how you get this column. Mass divided by volume. Next column asks you for moles of solid added. So you know how to convert from grams to moles. So you have the grams of the solid, and you need to convert to moles. So, oops, that's a little small. For sugar, I think it's 342 grams. Okay? So you would do multiply straight across and you come up with your moles here. I'm just going to estimate it's about 0.25. Okay? I'm just estimating that math in my head. So about 0.25 mole. All right? And the last column asks you moles of dissolved solid per milliliter of solution. So I have my moles. I have my milliliters of solution. Okay. So that is how you do these columns for sugar. Remember, you should be using your own numbers. You shouldn't be using my numbers. You should be using the own data you collected in the lab. Okay, you do the same thing for salt. Okay, you go through the same procedure for each of these columns for salt. This will not be 342 for salt. It's something like 58. Okay, so you have to calculate the molar mass for salt. Number 1, in terms of grams, were you able to dissolve more sugar or more salt? So you want to compare the grams you have. The grams of sugar, the grams of salt. Which were you able to dissolve more of? In terms of moles, were you able to dissolve more sugar or salt? Okay, you're comparing the moles. Last question, why is the volume of the solution different before and after dissolving the sugar and the salt? So why is this volume different from my starting volume? Okay, those are the 3 questions you need to think about. If you still have questions, you can see me after school.